Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Once again, this is Billy and Shaun with Harnessing Your Wealth. Today's topic is going to be 10 essential steps that parents need to follow in order to put their children on the path to financial success. And having been, of course, a financial advisor for the past 28 years and also a parent for 24 years, I have a few things I'd like to share with this. And not saying that I've always done everything right, but I have witnessed what I think are good steps toward teaching kids these ideas about financial freedom and success. And I've also seen very bad ones. So we're going to hit this off. Shaun's going to start off giving us his thoughts. And number one, we'll go through just 10 steps I think that everyone needs to be aware of. Shaun, what's your number one?
Hold on before I jump into that. Did you say not that I've always done everything right?
That's true. I mean, I admit it once in a while.
That's now in the record books.
Unlike yourself, because I've never heard you say you've done anything wrong. Not
I
once.
don't know that I have. So let's dive into this.
Well, I beg to differ, but go ahead.
Okay, number one. So I think it's so important for parents to offer a direction concerning financial matters. And I think that means just giving your kids some guidance with financial matters, communicating with them about what's a budget, what's income, why do we work? Introducing them to your financial advisor to have them sit down and maybe educate them a little bit further on like what's investing, what's the difference between savings and investing. But I mean, I even see that with my girls. They're about 6 and they're almost 7 now. And I talk to them about this, and I've got one where she gets a dime, she finds it, she says, "Dad, I want you to invest this for me." I got one finds a dime, and "Dad, when can we go to the dollar store? I want to buy something." So they're going to have different responses to this, but I think if you sit down with them, even at a young age, even like I started with my girls 4, 5, 6, talking about these things, they really latch on to it. And even in the later years, when they start to become teenagers, it's not too late to do that and just say, okay, here's what a budget is. Here's what you should be doing with your income. We've always advocated, if someone just said, how much should we save or invest of our income? 15% I think is the target, 10 at a minimum when you start that first job. So just teaching them and giving them a pathway to some of the basic things that can really set them apart from what all the other young people are doing. Also, as soon as they start earning income and have some W-2 income under their belts, a Roth IRA, if they're eligible, and most people are if they have earned income, we think is one of the most powerful accounts to have. You get that money that grows tax deferred, and if taken out in retirement, it comes out tax free. How huge would that be to have a couple $1 million of tax free money in a Roth IRA when you retire?
It's huge. Now, we understand, those of you who are listening, we're not expecting you all to be financial experts. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're telling you as a non-auto mechanic to teach your child how to fix his engine when it breaks down. What you do there is you obviously have conversation and move into the world of finance with the steps that you can take and reach out to a financial advisor or just do some reading. Make it a habit, though. What we're trying to suggest is with this first step is to actually prioritize it and to not just avoid it, even if you don't have the information yourself or call yourself an expert. There are plenty of people out there who you can turn to, including Shaun and myself, and maybe others if you have another person that you trust. But the conversations need to start with your children at a fairly young age, as soon as they're old enough to understand concepts about saving, about budgeting. And of course, budgeting, there's so many great apps out there that you can download on your phone if you don't like the spreadsheets. Very few people still run a checkbook. That was the old thing. Shaun's never seen a checkbook in his life.
I still write a couple checks to pay 1 or 2 bills.
When you get into a line, like a grocery store line, and you see the old guy or the old lady dig out her checkbook from her purse to pay, you know that you're in the wrong line.
Hey, it's a check register. I even know that. Hey, I
Yeah.
remember them.
And people sometimes still write out exactly what they bought and then do the math while they're standing there. So it's a different world.
That little old lady or old man doing that is probably worth a pile of money because they've tracked every penny going
Yeah,
way back. So good
they
for
do, but
them.
sometimes it's a little overboard.
What's number two, Billy?
Number two for us right here is let's avoid the impulse purchases. As we all know, as you're checking out, is just talking about that. Stores, they know the habits of people. You get bored, you're standing there, all of a sudden you look around, oh, there's several things there on the display rack that I might need. Or you walk into a convenience store filling up your car with gas and you decide, oh, I've got to have a drink, I've got to have a snack, and then you teach that behavior to your kids. And anymore, I don't know, it's much different environment, right? And inflation, of course, has been a hot topic, and we know what's happened. Most of us who have been alive are aware of the rise in prices, and it's so expensive just to walk into a store anymore. You you know, your kids all want to run to the drink aisle, grab a drink or a snack, and if you allow that behavior to be learned at a young age, then that's going to be what they'll mimic. They'll mirror that behavior for the rest of their lives, most likely. Even when they don't have the money, it's just going on a credit card. So let's just think about that for a second. $10 a day can compound into something pretty substantial. And $10 a day sounds like nothing. Most of us are used to spending that. Go to the gas station, and you know, if you have a family of five, it's not $10, it's $50 to get out of there, right, Shaun?
Oh, yeah. I know, because every time we stop, like if we're going on a road trip and Dad, I need a drink and I want a candy. I mean, it's $25, $30 by the time we walk out of the Maverick. So
So I'm speaking to you here on tip number two.
can't wait, Bill. Thank
Here
you.
we go. $10 a day compounded for 5 years. Shaun, that turns into $28,265 if we are able to get just the market return of 10%. Now, I'm not saying or suggesting that that's normal every single day, but 10% for a long period of time is what the market has done. Now, how about we continue that behavior and we just do that for 10 years. It becomes kind of a pattern, and we save that $10 a day or we invest it. We don't spend it on the junk, which seems like minor detail at the moment, but 10 years of putting that away, that turns into $74,768. Now, if it becomes a lifestyle, 30 years, you've accumulated more than $825,000 doing nothing more than putting $10 away into an investment account. Most people would feel very good about having that. And remember, those little purchases, I'm not saying live like a pauper, but monitor those a little bit more and teach your kids that those expenditures have a price and a consequence.
Well, you just made me sick, Bill, that I'm giving up $825,000.
You're robbing yourself of your future. I'm going to talk to Sloan, and I'm going to talk to both of them about this because the problems that you're creating for these kids could be
Hey, talk to
catastrophic.
Kate, okay? She's the boss.
Oh, is Kate in charge?
Well, depending on the day.
Well, both Quinn and Sloan are here at the office today, so I'm going to sit them down and talk to them.
All right, we'll do it. All right, so number three, we think allowing your kids to make some of their own financial decisions is super important. Oftentimes, we've seen it where parents are just controlling every financial decision that a kid is making. And if you do that, well, what about when mom and dad are gone? You incapable of making your own financial decisions. And we also think it's important to let your children make mistakes sometimes financially because they need to learn from their mistakes. And if they make one, it's not a run to mom and dad and get bailed out type of thing. This is a time to learn from that mistake. And I think that's so important. It's creating accountability. It's creating that money matters. These financial decisions matter, and there can be consequences. So not just saying leave your kid out on a limb, but guide them the best that you can, and then ultimately let them make some of their own financial decisions. And if they happen to make a bad one, it's don't bail them out. And that might be hard to do. And some people might not like hearing me say that, but I think it's true in the experiences that we've seen, because if you just get bailed out, then you're never holding yourself accountable and can
You
lead
just
to
don't learn.
worse habits.
The
You just
consequences.
don't learn.
Yeah, they come with real life experiences. You know how they say, don't touch that hot stove, don't touch it. No, you touch it. And then you have to learn on your own. So I think that's a big deal. Number 4, if you set the example correctly of a monthly budget, then you want to set the example of trying to live without monthly payments. And let me explain that a little further. Too many people get the attitude that they look at their monthly income and the check that they bring in or what they deposit into their bank account as the rule for what they can use to spend. So it's all about a monthly payment. And they say, well, yeah, I've got the extra 1,000. I can have $1,000 payment. I can buy that big new vehicle or whatever it may be. It could be clothes. You could have the addiction to that, or you could have a decision to go buy a boat and finance all of that. But most people these days, I would say the vast majority of people these days, live on that monthly payment plan. So they don't really own the assets. They are borrowing from the bank. And the amount of money, if you were to sit back and calculate the amount of interest that these people are paying to the banks, it is extremely counterproductive to their future financial freedom. So what we're trying to convey is teach your kids that it's not about a monthly payment. It's about having no payments. Now, most people are going to have a mortgage. We understand that. You're not going to be able to just jump out into the workforce and accumulate $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $1 million easily and go buy a house in cash. So a mortgage payment isn't a terrible thing because you're building up an asset that has equity, and you get a tax deduction most times if you're doing the itemized deductions for that interest charge. But a vehicle and paying for clothes and anything on a credit card offers you zero in the form of tax benefits, and it's just a definite drag on any kind of compounding of your net worth. It's taking away from your net worth. So make sure you're talking to your kids about that.
The worst one is the minimum monthly payments on a credit card.
By far.
Someone has a $10,000, $15,000 balance on their credit card, and they're like, oh, well, the minimum payment's only $300 a month. I got that. I can fit that in the budget. Well, you're paying them 20+% in most cases. It's just insane. And it'll take years, if not decade plus, to pay that balance off.
People that finally get to that last stage of their payment on their car, and they get it paid off, and then they run out and they have their eye on a newer one.
Well,
And
yeah,
so
I got to get a new one.
They start the payments all over again.
I was already paying the payment. It's fine. Well, what if you just kept that same payment but threw it into your retirement account or your investment account? That's what we're trying to say here.
Yes.
That's the power of putting away money for yourself. And Chase Bank didn't get to where it is by giving away money for free. They're charging interest on all their loans. Can we jump to number 5?
Let's do it.
Okay, so avoiding lifestyle comparisons to friends, families, neighbors, and social media influencers. So the short one of this is keeping up with the Joneses. Neighbor buys a boat, I'm buying a boat. Neighbor gets a new car, I'm getting a new car. Or I should have a new car. I deserve that. Or these gurus, I say that in quotes if you can't see me, these gurus on social media talking about all the things they're doing with their money.
Living their best life.
Living their best life. Peel the curtain back, guys. Those are the ones that are living paycheck to paycheck, and they're just wanting to have an image out there. You just got to be comfortable with yourself. Buy the things that you can afford. It's good to set goals. If you want that brand new Ferrari or something like that, great. It's something to keep you motivated to do better, to earn more money, but pay cash for it, or realize all these other people out there are likely financed to the gills.
Yeah. So they really don't. It's just, we call it all hat and no cattle, because the image you're displaying is just an image. If you have nothing behind you, to support that, then it's just a facade.
And kids are, even my girls will say things like, "Oh, their house is bigger than ours," or something like that. So they are seeing that and they want that. So I think it's important to educate your kids that it's not all about keeping up with your neighbor or the other people around you. It's about doing what you want to do and what you can afford to do.
Little sacrifice, right? And I think as a parent, monitoring your kids' time on social media is
Huge.
essential. It's a much different world. If you're my age or older, we grew up in a different world. And these kids today, I almost feel bad because they are hit with that. There's not just the Joneses like your neighbors. There are thousands of Joneses because they're in their face at all times on the digital media flowing into their phone constantly. And we've become addicted to looking at that and seeing what other people are doing or posting about. And it sets behaviors and it sets sometimes incorrect expectations for what reality looks like. And I think we need to limit the time that they have and maybe monitor some of those apps. Sometimes that sounds harsh because a lot of parents these days just want to turn their kids loose with everything. Boy, I think that's a terrible mistake. I really do.
He's scary.
Let's go to six.
Six.
We're going to talk about requiring your kids to have a vested interest in the purchases that they are making or things that they want to buy. Now, the reason we suggest this is because I think we all believe that if you have to put your own skin in the game, you are going to take better care of whatever it is that you are buying. You're going to appreciate it, and you're going to understand the sacrifice that it took to obtain that item. So whatever it might be, gaming consoles, or video games, or sports gear, clothes, whatever it might be, make the kid have some kind of a vested interest in that to where they took some time, they did some chores, they earned some money, and they had to sacrifice, they had to give something up to get it.
I think that's important. An example I can think of is when I turned 16, my dad had an old truck, like a 1989 Ranger. He said, "You can use my truck. I'm not going to charge you for it. But when it needs maintenance, when it needs tires, when it needs gas, that's on you." And then I had an interest to keep it running well, to get the oil changed when it needed to be done. And that was, my truck in a way. And I wanted to take care of it rather than just, "Okay, here's the truck, Shaun. I'll take care of all of it for you." Well, hell, all right. I'll drive it as much as I want, wherever I want, up in the mountains, up in the hills, and Daddy will take care of it for me. That's a bad way to set something up. So number 7 here, give allowances. We're a proponent of setting kids up with allowances, but base it on merit. So giving them jobs to do, more difficult jobs have higher reward, but also don't overpay. We don't want to think that, just because someone makes their bed. In fact, we have chores at our house, and I'm not the best parent ever. I'm not claiming that, but chores that are expected to be done where you don't get paid for it. Like, this is part of just the day-to-day, and it teaches them a good work ethic. And then there are chores that we need done around the house that we do offer some sort of allowance or reward for. And I think that just goes back to teaching, hey, if you want to earn money, it's not just going to be given to you. You have to do something to earn that money.
Now, listen, I grew up in the time when people had to work for a living. Now, you may not know what this is, but I have calluses on my hands from hauling manure, cleaning stalls, it was nonstop every day. And if you just tried to sleep in, well, you're going to get a bucket of water on your head, dumped on your head. So you couldn't sleep in. You're out there every day. And then maybe if you were lucky, you got cheeseburger,
Lunch.
your truck filled up with gas. So I remember one time I asked my dad, "Can I get paid? Because I have to buy some things for school." "What the hell do you think this is? Think I'm made of money?" I had to deal with that kind of stuff. So it's a different environment, I think, nowadays.
I remember going to the farm, and then when you were done writing your hours on the time card, remember doing that and then pinning them to the wall? My starting wage, I think, was $1 an hour. And
It's probably more than you were worth, too.
probably, yeah, I should have been around the 50-cent range or whatever. But I remember those days too, Bill.
Sean, people are making $20 an hour nowadays.
No, just to show up.
Weird. All right, listen. And number 8, teach them the concept of matching. So this is kind of interesting, but we find that a lot of people starting out in the workforce, they don't take advantage of free money. That's crazy to us. But what people don't do or don't think they can do is put up their own money in order to get some on top of it. And that's called a match. For a 401k plan, it is crucial that you take advantage of it. If you're not, it's just a crazy way to give up money that people are trying to give you. So the way to get them to think about that is, for example, what I do with my kids, and I've always done this, is when it's time for back to school shopping every year, they want to go back and it's all fun and great, great day to go buy new clothes for themselves. But we don't let them just go hog wild on whatever they want. I put up a matching program, and depending on their age, it depends on the match that I'm going to give them. The older they get, the less the match is. Okay, it might be 1 for 1, but when they're younger, I might say, all right, 3 for 1, or even 4 for 1. So if they have $100, I'll give them $300 or $400. But as they get older, I'm taking that match lower because obviously they're able to earn more and do more and appreciate it. So, and we're getting ready to do it right now. And I've told those girls, you better get working. You better find some way to make some money, because this isn't daddy taking care of you for the rest of your life. You're going to learn to figure out how to get something for yourself.
They're going to be scrambling to mow lawns to earn whatever they can to match your deep pockets, Bill.
They're not that deep. So I'm going to be like Warren Buffett and just give it all to charity at the end.
Good way to do it. Number 9 here. So we see this a lot, speaking with clients and prospects across the country here, but prioritizing your own financial goals over what goals you might have for your children. Okay, we run lots of different financial plans, and sometimes we find where people will, to the detriment of their own retirement and their being okay in their own retirement, will do something for their kids financially that's going to jeopardize their own retirement. And I think that's a mistake, because I think you, as the parent, need to be financially secure before your kids. Okay, everyone wants to say, I want to set my kids up, I want to do something for them. Well, that's great, but what about your own retirement? Your money's got to last. If you retire at 60, it's got to last for another 30, 35 years. So are you willing to give up that comfortable retirement to throw the big wedding, to put a big down payment on the house for the kids, to bail them out of their college debt or financial mistake that they made? And sometimes the answer is yes. No matter how much we show them the different projections, they still want to do it. And I just, I think that's a mistake that some people will make. Again, it's their money. We're here to advise, but ultimately clients make their own decisions on that. But I wouldn't get caught up in that one too much.
We have seen some real problems there. I remember one client many years ago who, their goal was to send their child to Ivy League school. And the child at that point in time was only maybe 6 or 7 years old. Of course, the child didn't even know what they wanted to do with their life yet. But the parent had modest income and modest retirement savings, laid out their own retirement projections of when they'd like to retire, but then prioritized the child's Ivy League education, which was calculated to be somewhere in the ballpark of $600,000 over their own retirement. And again, we had that conversation at length, but that was what they wanted for their child. So it became a goal of theirs for their child, not the child's goal for themselves. And I think it's just backwards. It's putting things out of priority. And then I guess the assumption is if they couldn't retire, the child would take care of them with their great job or whatever they were doing. We all want the best for our kids. I think sports will show that and highlight that more than anything. Right. I mean, parents, these travel team parents are crazy. They do anything for their kids. Oh, that $500 bat's going to help my kid get a double? I will buy it today.
Scholarship.
You better believe it.
Right around the corner, Billy.
But I think we have to consider are our own goals in line before we're doing all that.
Absolutely, for sure. What's our last one here?
So number 10. All right, this is critical. Introduce long-term investing to your kids at a young age. So we've talked about the concept of doubling your money and what it looks like and how that can happen. And if any one of you listening has read my book, my first book, Harnessing Your Wealth, there's a section in there talking about the rule of 72. And the rule of 72 is a simple math calculation that determines the number of years that it will take for a certain rate of return on an investment to produce a double on your money. And the neat thing about that rule of 72 is it becomes a compounding calculation. So it's seeing this interest and the growth of interest and the compounding of what's growing over time. So we show a 10% rate of return and a $2,000 investment at an age of 14, left alone for a number of years, will turn into over $1 million by the time that 14-year-old reaches age 77. This is just the rule of compounding.
Well, in that example, you're taking 72 divided by 10, so it gives you 7.2, which is the number of years it would take.
Yes. Roughly every 7 years, your money's going to double at 10%. So you think about that, just compounding your money and how it's so critical. But think about it, Shaun. The reason why we introduce kids to investing at such a young age is you have the power of time. And it's so important because if you waited until you were 21 instead of 14, all right, you've missed that one doubling period. So you fall all the way back to 528,000 or whatever it was, 526,000 instead of the 1,024,000. So it's 7 years, but you miss out on over $500,000 of growth. So the doubling is huge. And if you can start early and then imagine continuing to invest and continuing to contribute to your investment strategy. So it's not, I mean, people make this investing like a foreign language or a concept that's so hard to grasp. But the important thing to remember is you don't have to understand it all. You just have to do it. You just have to start and teach your kids to start. And like Shaun mentioned in step number 1, a Roth IRA would be by far and away the best choice for a child if he has earned income, he or she has earned income, put that max contribution. And even if they only could do it 1 year, and then just be patient and live your life and don't get in debt and be smart, and you're a multimillionaire when you're in your 70s, early 70s, probably late 60s. It's just investing it and letting it go. So teaching them early, show them examples of stocks. We can help with that. The compound returns of pick any great company out there and we can show you their compounded annual returns. Make them read books about financial literacy. There are some great books to help kids understand, age-appropriate books, and stress that importance of starting early. Don't just kick the can and act like waiting and doing it later is going to be fine. It will be fine. Life will turn out the way it's supposed to, but you can have a lot more freedom, a lot more choice, and much more enjoyment later in life if you just make some of these small things happen early.
Yeah. Start them early. And then as a parent, you don't have to be in a situation where you need to bail them out or you don't need to help them with the house down payment or whatever it might be, because they're going to be financially independent at a young age if they start early, rather than waiting till you're 45, 50, 60 years old to get investing.
Because then you have to increase your contributions exponentially. So start early. You don't have to do as much, and you can see it grow, and then you can get excited about it. Everyone out there listening, I hope you enjoyed these 10 essential steps that you can take with your child to turn their life into something very rewarding financially for them. Until next time, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for listening to Harnessing Your Wealth with Billy Peterson. Before we declare the race official, please click the follow button so you can be notified when new episodes become available. For more information about today's show, please check out the show notes. Visit our website at www.petersonws.com or give us a call at 801-475-4002. Once again, thank you for listening. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Peterson Wealth Services. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.